Hello, welcome to Reely Rated, the top 10 podcast. I'm your host, Mitchell Stevens, and today I'm joined by my co-host, Jess Andrews. Jess, how are you?
I'm scared, Mitchell.
Ooh.
This has been stressful, I'm not gonna lie.
So today I'm really excited because this is our first special edition podcast, and it'll be our first top 10s podcast, and we'll be doing horror films today.
I feel like we should have dressed up for the occasion.
Yeah, spooky.
Should we talk in like Dracula voices the whole time?
1, 2, 3, free podcast.
Maybe not.
So today we'll be talking about our personal top 10 favourite horror films, and we'll be doing it in ascending order from 10 to 1. But before we start, Jess, I just want to ask you, how have you approached doing this list? Because mine will be very different to you. I just wondered what you count as your top 10, because I know it's been harder for you to narrow it down.
I'm starting to like the Bride of Frankenstein, mate, because my hair is going grey. I've got stripes on. No, basically the way I've approached it is that I'm not basing it on necessarily how acclaimed or how well made the movie is. I've based it basically on how much it makes me shit my pants, to be quite honest.
Nice.
To me, that is the mark of a good horror film. You know, I don't think you watch a horror film to sit there with your fingers in a pyramid and going, oh yes, the cinematography is fabulous. You know, you sit there with your fingers over your eyes, right? Like that, to me, that's what makes a good horror movie. So basically, this is on my shit-o-meter. How much did I shit myself?
That's interesting because I've approached it in a kind of a similar way, but in yet kind of different. So you're doing it by how much it scares you. I've done my list about how much it entertains me.
Ooh.
Because I approach horror in terms of, because it's one of my favourite genres. Like, it grabbed me when I was really young, but I enjoy being scared. So I often watch a horror film because I think to myself,
Sadist.
I know. But so I often pick films that do the scariness, but in an interesting, entertaining way. Often films that do generally scare me, I won't go back to, or I won't visit it as often.
Sure, yeah.
And like yours, I feel like my list is films that I think need to be in the Hall of Fame of the horror films. Because if you think about horror films from decades past, it's the ones which are kind of like old at this point that are in that list that everyone agrees on.
Yeah.
And I feel like these ones maybe either should be considered or should definitely go in. So as we go along, we'll see what happens and see what our choices are. Because just to let everyone know, we haven't told each other what's on our lists because I want the surprise. I want to see.
Sorry. We want it to be authentic and, you know.
I want to be scared.
This is going to be a very tense top 10, guys.
It really is. So what we're going to do, we're going to take it in turns, starting at 10, and then we'll just go up the list that way. But before we do that, we want to talk about some honourable mentions. So, Jess, just give me a brief explanation or just reveal to me what you left off the list because I'm really interested.
Do you want the short list or the long list? Guys, I have struggled with this. Like, I have got a list a mile long.
You did reveal to me the other day you had like 22 picks.
Yeah. And then I found more as I was like going through the week and thinking about it. But yeah, my honourable mentions are The Exorcist, The Wicker Man, and The Evil Dead.
Oh, that's a good honourable 3.
I think they're very honourable or dishonourable.
They're spooky.
I didn't put these on my top 10, partially out of just there not being enough room for all my movies, and partially because The Exorcist and The Wicker Man, I think, are, like you said, already in the Hall of Fame, or already very renowned.
Yeah.
The reason I put those two on is because I can specifically remember watching them for the first time in my room in the dark and having that feeling that I absolutely bloody love when you watch a movie where you feel like you forget you're in your bedroom. Do you know what I mean? Like, you literally feel, not that you're necessarily there, but that nothing else exists. And you feel like the air is closing in on you and you're just watching it. Like with The Exorcist and The Wicker Man, super duper scared me. And Evil Dead, I actually, I can, this is so embarrassing to admit. I have only watched it once, And it's because it scared me so badly that I can't watch it again. Literally, like the oh god, what do you call them? The
Oh, isn't it Deadites?
Deadites. That's it. Thank you very much. The Deadites in it. Honestly, even just hearing the voices or looking at a still shot of them makes me feel physically sick. Oh, stop. No, stop. Please don't. Honestly, it really scares me. And I watch a lot of horror, so I don't know why it scares me so much. But how about you?
My honourable mentions are Insidious, Paranorman, and Ready or Not, which is actually a super recent one.
Is that the one with the bride?
So Ready or Not was a notable film because it's one of the last films that me and Steve saw in the cinema before this whole lockdown.
Before the real terror began.
And I just found it not even super original, but the premise I found so entertaining, funny, and just a joy to watch, which I know sounds really hilarious talking about a horror film. But long conversation short, I've just found the premise really kind of entertaining, and not to spoil the ending, so I'm not going to spoil it here because I really want people to go see it. The ending is kind of super original, or at least it goes in a direction you don't think it's going to go in, because it's very much set up like a revenge slasher film.
Well, don't say anything because I really want to watch it. It's on my list.
No, I'm not. I think you'll really enjoy it. And the other two, so basically Insidious, this won't be the last James Wan film on my list, a little hint.
Why am I not surprised?
But I love that nerd, and Insidious actually generally scares me. You know that part where the guy's walking along the outside of the window near the baby's crib? He's prancing outside the window, and then the next minute he's in the room. That gets me every time. Even though it's coming, I still sort of like, it creeps me out.
Makes you feel sick, yeah.
And then for the last honourable mentions, it's it's quite a kooky one, and so for it's Paranorman. And the best way I can describe it is if it was Ghostbusters in stop motion, but it's set during a sort of zombie apocalypse. It centers on a young boy, Norman, who can see the dead, and he basically has to save his small town that he lives in through, it's like some sort of like dark prophecy that he has to sort of like...
It's always a prophecy.
Do you know what, actually, it's a bit like Scooby-Doo,
Okay,
to be fair.
fair enough.
But right, enough of our honourable mentions. Let's get into our main list. And so before we start, we're going to try and avoid spoilers on this list, because I think these are films that, like Jess, that I really want people to go search out and find. So let's go into our top 10 spooky horror films.
So, on my number 10 spot, the original Funny Games, 1997.
Oh.
By Michael Haneke.
Haneke.
I first watched this at uni, I believe with Mitchell. I think I watched the remake first, the American remake by the same director. And I really, really found it interesting, but it also, because it breaks the fourth wall a lot, it's very kind of, it follows the home intruder narrative, but it feels very off kilter somehow. I think it's because this isn't a spoiler, but the intruders, they're not in costume, so to speak. You see their faces the whole time, they look normal. There's no sort of, masks and things. It's just them being intimidating rather than violent necessarily to begin with, which I found really off-putting. I chose the original rather than the remake because even though I do enjoy the remake, I find the original more atmospheric, and the acting, no shade, Tim and Naomi, because it's Tim Roth and Naomi Watts in the remake. It's Suzanne Lothar and Ulrich Muth and Aro Frisch in the original, but I find it a lot more visceral in the original. I wasn't sure whether to put it on my top 10 because it is, I hasten to say, basic in terms of it's, people intrude a house and murder the family. But I found it, especially because one of the deaths, which I won't go into, is quite impactful, I think. And I think if you watch it, you'll know which one I mean. And the fact that it's one of those ones where you follow the characters so closely that when they do die or survive or whatever, you have a proper in your chest reaction because you've been rooting for them. You know, you feel like Tyra. We were all rooting for you. But I chose it because it impacted me. I remember the first time I watched it, I was like upset. You know, when you feel like you're a bit shaky afterwards,
Yeah.
you feel like, wow, it's touched me deep. It's cut me deep, Shrek. It's cut me real deep.
And the guy with the buzz cut in it is like really hot.
Do you reckon?
I would let him murder me.
Wow. I think the only person I'd let murder me is Steve Carell. But we're not endorsing love kills here, guys.
Like you, with that film, like you, I saw the remake first, and then when I did watch it with you. I think we, because at uni, we had a really good collection of films that we could rent out.
Yeah.
And I think the one thing that we noticed when we watched the original, the mother in that film,
Yeah.
she is so heartbreaking, but you can just sense this emotion from every fibre of her being that you don't get that with Naomi Watts.
No, and that's not to say Naomi Watts isn't a good actress. She's a very good actress, but it's not. Yeah, it's there's just something about it that's just not the same. I love it, the sort of thing they do when it sounds gross, but when they've got like snot and like sweat in their eyes and stuff, and it's like, oh my god, this looks real. Like this is how I imagine it would look.
She was a right snot bag in that film.
Like proper snotty, you know. So
yeah.
I like that. I like to see people acting as if it really is real and they're not stood on a stage acting. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why I picked it.
Oh no, that's a great pick.
Thanks. What's yours? Oh, I'm so excited.
All right, so at number 10, I've gone a bit conventional, but this is a film that was really high up on my list and it got knocked down and down and down and down. But it's a film that I think it's worth mentioning because it started a whole nother subgenre of the horror film. And I think people would argue with me that Mitch is already in the Hall of Fame, but it's at my 10 and it is Saw.
Ooh, I thought you were going to say... Never mind. I'm not going to say what I thought you were going to say.
Oh, so I already mentioned James Wan's other horror franchise, which was Insidious, but Saw kickstarted the torture porn genre, which I'm not a massive fan of because I think it became a bit sort of samey as the films went along.
Yeah, very.
But Saw has a special place in my heart because it was one of the first films that I can remember seeing where it was all set in one place, in the now. Because in the film, it's all set in one bathroom somewhere. You don't know where it is. And the film sort of plays out its narrative through flashbacks. I said through flashbacks. And you find out what led these characters to be in this bathroom with a dead body. It's Lee Whannell, who wrote the film alongside James Wan. And it's Carrie Ews. Ews?
I don't know how to say his name.
Who plays Dr. Gordon, isn't it? Dr. Gordon.
Yeah.
And then there is a dead body in the bathroom with them. And I'm pretty sure everyone who's seen Saw will know who the dead body is. For those that don't, I won't reveal any spoilers. But I just found Saw to be such an original film for its time. And unfortunately, I do think the following films do detract from how great the first film was, but I'm still a fan, so that's why it's on my list.
I think it's a great pick because actually you're right about the remakes. However, I feel like the first three are really good. Actually, I have a soft spot for number 6. I'm not going to lie to you.
Oh, is that the one with the insurance guy?
Yeah, the insurance guy, yeah.
Because we saw that together in cinema and we loved it.
Yeah, I have a complete soft spot for that one.
I think that's the last good one, in my opinion.
I mean, I think all of the sequels have bits that are really good about them, but they don't compare to the original. In that the original is one of those ones that you can feel yourself cringing.
Yeah.
But I think the way that it's filmed in the original, where everything's that kind of horrible, like, bottle green tint.
Yeah, it makes you feel ill.
It does. It makes you feel really, like, unsettled. But it works to its favour, I think. And I think it's a really good spit. Like I said, it's not on my top 10. It's in my long list. But I think the Jigsaw clown at the time, before it got parodied to death, was incredibly scary. If you don't like puppets, you don't like clowns.
Yeah.
The pig masks as well, I think, are incredibly scary. There's also that one scene with a little girl in the bedroom that to this day makes me feel sick when I watch it.
In an effort not to spoil anything for people that haven't seen Saw, we're going to move on because I'm finding it so hard not to talk about the main villain
Yeah, and the plot
without
line.
spoiling it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's go to our number 9. So Jess, what's your number 9 horror film?
Hush. It's Hush.
Oh, Hush. I thought you were telling me to hush.
No, I'm saying it's Hush.
Hush.
Yes. So this is one that I had to rewatch this week because I remember I watched it and I remember being shit scared, but I've only watched it the once, and I thought, okay, I can't in good consciousness put it on my top 10 above all the other ones I had to miss out based on watching it once. So I watched it again. As a very brief synopsis, it centers around, it's another home invasion actually. Clearly that's a theme with me. It centers around a deaf and mute author who lives kind of in isolation in the woods in a very nice house. She has a next door neighbour, but apart from that they're quite isolated. And one night basically a man comes to the house and tries to kill her, which sounds pretty boring. However, it was directed by Mike Flanagan, who most of you probably know the name of because he's really up and coming now in the horror scene. He did like Oculus. He did the series House on Haunted Hill, I want to say. Oh, Haunting of Hill House. Haunting of Hill House. He did that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The thing that I like about it, which I think is a theme, for like a lot of horror movies, is the kind of the sensory deprivation. I mean, it runs through all films, right? That's why horror films are always in the dark, because you can't see what's coming to get you. In this, you can't hear what's coming to get you. And that is it actually really does throw into focus how much you rely on your hearing in these sort of situations. Like, the killer could literally be standing right behind you or walking up behind you and you wouldn't know unless you see them. Have you seen the film, Mitch?
No, it's on my list, and it's one that you recommended to me that I haven't got around to seeing yet.
I think you really enjoy it. It's quite inventive. The villain, I won't spoil it, but the villain is scary in a very non-conventional way, I would say, for this kind of genre. It's shot really well. I was watching it back and kind of thinking, wow, like this is actually really well made, you know? Like a lot of care has gone into this. And it is quite gory actually. Like, it's not massively gory, but the bits where there is gore, it's pretty nasty. It has Kate Siegel in it, not to be confused with Katie Siegel. Because I was thinking, that ain't Leela. She's really good. She's in I think she's in quite a lot of his projects because she's actually married to him in real life, I believe. But yes, I think Hush is definitely up there. I think in a couple of years it's going to be thought of as more of a classic. It's relatively new.
Well, people love Hill House, The Haunting of Hill House. So I think if they become fans of him, they're gonna stumble across that film like sooner or later.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a lot of people have actually said like really good things about Hush, like Stephen King, William Friedkin. They've said, among others, obviously loads of critics and stuff have all said like how scary it is. So coming from them, you know, that's praise. That's enough for me, and I agree with them because my opinion is just as valid.
Yeah, if not more.
I know. Fuck you, King. No.
This is our podcast after all. I have nothing to say about Hush, only because I haven't seen it. I want to see it.
It's also a Blumhouse production.
Oh, good old Blumhouse.
Before Blumhouse got shit. There, I said it. Yeah.
Can't really argue with that, but yeah.
So what's your number 9?
Right, so number 9, it's a little well-known horror film. It's a 2000 film starring Brittany Murphy. Oh, God, Brittany Murphy. Hurts me every time, and it's called Cherry Falls.
I've never heard of it.
This is why I picked it, because so it came out in the aftermath of Scream, and to say it's a Scream clone, I think is fair, but it really does overlook a lot of conventions which are quite prevalent in our society today, which is the sexualization of women and also like transgendered rights. I'm not going to explain how because that will ruin the twist of the
Yeah.
film. But the premise of the film, so it stars Brittany Murphy. She is daughter of the sheriff of this local town called Cherry Falls, who is played by Michael Bean. And he's really good in this film.
I think he's sexy.
Really?
Yeah.
Back in the day, yeah.
Like in Terminator and stuff. Whew.
No, I was going to say... Are you into necrophilia?
No. Is he dead?
No.
Oh.
I'm just saying he's so old. You're so old!
I was gonna say.
So a bit of trivia. So this film was originally made to be a what's it like made for TV film.
Oh right, okay, yeah.
They managed to get enough money to get it distributed. It got slated by the critics and it absolutely got hounded by the ratings board because the premise of the film is that the kids who because like typical slasher films, it follows like a group of high school students. Led by Brittany Murphy, who is the final girl. But people start finding out that the killer is killing virgins.
Right.
So the climax of the film, I can't think of a better word than that. The climax of the film ends with all the kids trying to lose their virginity in a massive orgy.
Right, okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, it makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah. So this is definitely a Scream ripoff, but that's part of what I like about it. The killer is very interesting. See, I can't reveal too much about the killer because it will ruin the film.
Right, okay, fair enough.
It posits that it's a woman and she's wearing this kind of she's very leathered clad and she's in high heels.
I like that it's kind of so in leather and heels. That's very intimidating to the virgins that she's.
The only spoiler I'll give, and it's not that much of a spoiler, is it's very much one of those the sins of the parents affect the kids.
Yeah.
And the twist at the end is a massive commentary on a lot of the issues that we're facing today regarding women's rights.
I'll give it a watch.
So if you guys are into slasher films and you love horror films, I mean, that's why you're here today. I definitely advise go seeking it out because I think it's a hidden treasure that I think deserves to be in the Hall of Fame and, if anything, to be reassessed. And also, I'm not blinded by the fact that if it was ever to enter, let's say, for instance, the top 10 100 horror films of all time, I think it would be at 100, but I think it...
But it doesn't mean that that it's not in your top 10.
I know, and that's why it's here.
That's why it's there, duh.
Yeah. Right, so let's move on to number 8, shall we? So, Jess, what's at your number 8?
Okay, this is my pretentious, but not really pretentious pick. It's one of those movies that people like to talk about because they're trying to be quite pretentious, but actually it's very, very well known, so it's not pretentious. And that is Suspiria.
Oh.
The original.
Yep.
1977 giallo film, which is a certain subgenre of Italian horror cinema that was quite famous in the 70s, but has kind of died out now, as far as I'm aware. It's directed by Dario Argento, who also is quite a famous name if you're into sort of Italian or European cinema. He did a lot of different kind of movies in the same vein, so to speak. Apparently this is part of a trilogy, or kind of one of those loose trilogies, kind of like the Cornetto trilogy, so it's not really like a trilogy.
That's what came up in my head when you said trilogy.
Literally. But when it's not actually a trilogy in terms of, it's more of a anthology, I'd say. So anyway, I watched a little bit of it at uni, and it definitely piqued my interest, because I'll be honest, I am quite a mainstream person. I don't watch a lot of random European cinema. Not because I don't like it, but because I'm a bit lazy and I can't really track it
You're
down.
so uncultured.
I am really uncultured, yeah, I really am. But this was in the library at uni and I rented it because the scene we watched really did scare me. And I thought this sounds good. And I watched it alone in my room in the dark, which was a big mistake because it scared the living bejesuses out of me. Weirdly, it does look dated, and generally dated stuff doesn't really scare people, I don't think, massively, because the effects kind of take away from it sometimes. But for me, because basically the synopsis is that this young American ballet dancer goes to Germany to this really renowned dance academy, and freaky stuff starts happening. People are murdered all over the place, and essentially it's a bit of a mystery movie, really, in that she's trying to find out like what's going on. But the kills in it are, like I said, a bit dated, but they're very, I don't know the way to describe it, really. Animalistic almost. It's very sort of ugly. It's not, beautifully choreographed, which is ironic considering it's set in a dance school. The lighting in it, I think, is the main draw for me, in that it makes you feel off.
Yeah.
I know it sounds weird, but the way that Argento shoots it is that you can actually never tell if the light is real or not. So, like, in certain shots, the character will be behind, like, a very bright green light, and you're thinking, oh, it must be from outside, or it must be, like, a neon light from the ceiling, or whatever. And in the next shot, the light is completely different. So it really, like, it disjoints you, because what you think is real is maybe not real, and what you're seeing isn't reliable. The killer, so to speak, the evil, the murderer in it, isn't actually very scary. It's more kind of the atmosphere that builds before the certain kills. It's quite hard to describe, really, if you've not seen it. The score is quite famous. It's done by, I believe, a band called Goblin, who I think they're kind of like a bit of a progressive, like experimental band. But I'm not going to lie to you, though. I would say it's up there with, like, Tubular Bells, because it is really freaky. Like, when you listen to it, especially, like, in the dark, it really does make you feel really uneasy. So you've seen it then, Mitch?
Yeah. I remember not being a big fan of it, only because it's just not my type of horror. To be fair, I think I'm one of those uncultured
Swines.
People who are like, yeah, who's like, oh, it's just so old, I don't get it.
I totally get that. I really do, actually, in that it is old and it is dated, but it's one of those ones where you can where for me anyway, I compartmentalize what's scary about it, if you see what I mean.
It did unnerve me, and I'm not going to spoil, like, the twist unnerved me, and that's as much as I'm going to go into.
See, I feel like the twist was the weaker part for me, weirdly. It was kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? Whereas the actual body of the horror made me more scared. I started watching the remake yesterday, actually. I saw it on Amazon Prime, and I was like, oh. So I thought I'll watch that and see how it goes. I ended up turning it off halfway through, not because it was bad necessarily, but because I had things to do and it just wasn't really gripping me. I mean, if you are a fan of the twist and the actual kind of evil that's in the original, you'll probably enjoy the aspect of the remake. But it lacks, for me, what made the original scary, which was the weird lighting and the score. So I'll take it for a watch, but yeah, go for the original, because the original, in my opinion anyway, is in my top 10 of just films that really made me feel uneasy, and I wouldn't want to watch in the dark by myself again.
Right, so at my number 8, it's another slasher film, which is going to be like a trend for me. I promise there's different types of horror films on my list, I promise. But at number 8, it is Wrong Turn.
Oh, okay.
Have I shown you this?
Yes, I think you did show me at uni, actually. But it didn't stick with me, so I'm very interested to see what you think.
I am going to show my biases right off the bat. So this has a special place in my heart because it's one of the first DVDs that I bought myself.
Aww.
And it was going to appeal to me always because it has Elijah Dushku in it, who is
yes.
Faith from Buffy.
Yeah, Rich would like it as well then.
Yeah.
He's on the Elijah train.
I think she's a very underrated actress. I don't think she has a lot of range as an actress, I'll be honest. So essentially, it's a film about a group of college students who are taking Elijah Dushku's Jessie on a trip up to Bear Mountain. It's like in the forest. It looks like it's like backwards Rockies, if you get what I mean. And they end up crashing into another guy's car, who is played by Desmond Harrington, who I know from another underrated British horror film called Hole.
Oh, right, yeah.
Which nearly was on my list, but I haven't seen that film nearly enough to say that it's like on my top 10. Anyway, sidetracking. So they crash in the middle of like nowhere, and then they slowly start realizing they're being hunted by a family of, shall we say, mutated freaks.
Shall we say? Not to put too fine a point on it.
So it spawned a really unfortunate direct-to-DVD franchise all of its own. I would recommend you don't see the sequels, anyone, because I think it undoes what's so great about this first film. Because from watching it just off the bat, the fact of who these killers are isn't that important, because it really plays on the kind of like othering aspect that horror films can use, which is the fact that like these people are deformed and they're basically hillbillies and they're separate from us.
Yeah.
Whereas the other rest of the franchise ruins their origin, because it does what I hate about horror films, that sometimes they over explain too much.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they try and say that they were like hillbillies that were affected by this toxic dumping.
Oh no.
Yeah, but in the original, I understood them to be kind of like there was been so inbred by over the
Yeah.
years that they've ended up become deformed.
Yeah.
There's a bit of torture porn in there, but the effects were done by Stan Winston.
Oh right. I was not expecting that.
No, neither was I. But like when I was watching the special features on the DVD, and there was like a really good featurette which is all about him and his legacy, because he was known for Alien, wasn't he?
Oh god, he did loads.
He did so many.
Terminator. Oh, Jurassic Park. Aliens. I don't know about Alien. Sorry, yeah, carry on.
But the reason why Stan Winston has a special place in my heart, because he champions something that I think is being forgotten about now, and it's the kind of like special effects in terms of like because it's like real, it looks real. This film does utilize CGI in limited places, but a lot of it is done with special effects rather than CGI itself, and you can so tell. And there's a brilliant scene where the people we're following, so Jesse and everyone, they're like chased up these massive redwood trees, and it's a whole kind of scene where it takes place up in the trees, and it's the way it's done is so good because you can tell that it was filmed with them up on wires on a soundstage. Like, it looks so good. But anyway, I'm gushing about this film. It's not going to be on anyone's like critics top 10 list, but it's on mine because I think it's really underrated, and if you love slasher films, this is another great slasher film that you should go see. So let's move on.
So my number 7 pick, my lucky number 7, is one that is not necessarily in my trend of the kind of horror films that I love. In that it is technically a monster movie. I'm usually more of a human horror sort of, real life horror sort of person. But that being said, my number 7 is The Thing. 1982 by John Carpenter.
Oh.
Yes. I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about all the monster movies that, like, in all the kind of subgenres, obviously there's intruder, there's slasher, there's monster, and I was thinking, okay, like, some monster things creep me out. Like, American Werewolf in London scares me in terms of, like, the transformation scene, things like that. And then I got on to thinking about, like, practical effects, and like how I'm always complaining that modern horror movies, the CGI doesn't look scary, which then brought me on to thinking about The Thing, in that it's one of the movies where the practical effects are actually so scary, I think anyway, even though you could argue they're dated, but I think they hold up all right, to be fair, for the genre that it is.
Yeah. Because
it is an alien movie, the effects to me don't need to be super rooted in a reality, if you see what I mean. Like, it's gonna look grotesque and different because it's alien,
and it looks like fleshy, doesn't it? Like, yeah, very wet.
So they spent $1.5 million out of $15 million budget on the effects, on the practical effects, which at the time was a lot of money. I think Carpenter really wanted to have a very, like you said, kind of wet and like real sort of, nasty is the word I used to describe it. It actually came out to really, really negative reviews. I didn't realise this, but apparently, like, when The Thing came out in the early 80s, everyone absolutely hated it. They thought it was terrible, and then it grew on VHS, as it often does. So you can class it as a cult film, whereas in my opinion, I thought it was kind of like just up there in the kind of already in the Hall of Fame sort of thing. I included it because even though the actors aren't my favourite, the setting isn't my favourite, and a lot of things aren't my favourite about it, but I can remember watching it and really being floored by how it twists and turns, and how the thing itself is this kind of fluid, parasitical kind of monster that you never know who it is, what it's going to be. You know, it's very enjoyable in that aspect, because it's not just, you know, I mean, Dracula's scary, right? But he's always Dracula. He always looks the same, usually. Unless, yeah. Unless you're going for the Francis Ford Coppola Dracula, but we won't talk about that. You know, it's... Oh, God. Anyway. Sorry, I can't stand that movie. Anyway. I like the fact that you never know who it is, what it is. I really enjoy the paranoia effect, and the fact that it makes it so entertaining, because you're always wondering, okay, is this guy the thing? Is that guy the thing? Like, is anyone even the thing? Or is it just kind of... Is it pretending to be a fly in the room? You know, you just don't know. I've read a lot of kind of essays about it in terms of how it kind of denotes, you know, spies and communism and the fear of the unknown and blah, 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 blah. But I think it works well just as a base level monster movie as well, if you don't want to read into it super. What do you think about it? You're allowed to disagree with me. I feel like you're scared.
No. It's it's one of those films that I haven't seen. Okay, let me be honest. It's one of those films I haven't seen all that often, so I don't remember it that well. But the first time I did see it was at a house party, and we were all completely stoned.
Mitchell.
And all I remember was, like, the bit where the doctor goes to put the
Yeah.
and it eats his arms.
Yeah.
Everyone in the entire room sort of just went, "Ugh!" And then, like, we had this bowl of popcorn, it just went flying. But
I mean, what more is there to say? That's how it should. That's how it does make you react.
Yeah, like, I really enjoy the lowliness of the location. That really does like sum up for me. And is it Kurt Russell?
Yes.
Yeah, Kurt Russell. Like, I find him such a convincing protagonist, but like has that bit of unlikable tinge to him at the same time.
That's another thing I really like about it, is actually I agree with you in that the characters are all quite bland, I would say. But that actually, usually that would be a critique for me in a movie. I'd be like, well, I don't want to watch a movie where the characters are bland. But in this, it works so well because of the atmosphere that it's trying to build, because you're not really meant to know who is the infected.
Yeah.
So there's no real kind of... Because you know how... I always make the argument when I watch a film where there's like a possession or a, alien intruder or whatever. I always get annoyed because I think to myself, how are the characters not knowing that their loved one is infected? Because I'm just thinking to myself, like, they're acting funny. If my boyfriend or my best friend started acting like that, I'd be thinking, what the fuck is going on? So the fact that in this, both that the characters don't have many attributes that will be differentiated between, and the fact that the thing is so good at imitating, it builds on the paranoia, and that's what I think is so good about it.
It was based on a B movie, wasn't it? The Thing from Outer Space.
Yeah, Howard Hughes.
Yeah, and I love that he's taken like a B movie like horror icon and turned it into something that's so like dangerous and kind of subvertive in a way. In that the fact that it's about a thing that takes over someone's very being and then sort of like becomes monstrous as the film goes on.
Because I think, if I remember rightly, Carpenter actually was a bit reluctant to take on the project because he loved the original, the B movie, but he was swayed in that he thought the only part of the B movie that he didn't like was that he found the creature in it to be very unnotable. Like, it was quite bland. Like, there was nothing really kind of memorable about that monster. So in his version, he was like, right, I'm gonna make the monster the main villain and make it sort of like the more grotesque, and to kind of feed it in with the paranoia. I think he did a really good job. That's my feeling. Haters can go home.
So my number 7 is probably the first on my list that I would consider that people would actually be with me now. So like,
are you with me?
My other 3 films that were low on my list for a reason is because of films that I personally love, that I think that there might be some weirdos out there that might like them as well. not including Saw, because I think Saw's quite mainstream.
Yeah.
So at number 7, it's It Follows.
Oh, that was on my long list.
So it's a film by David Robert Mitchell. I haven't seen any of his other films, but what I like about this one is the fact that it is so kind of cerebral in a kind of like relentless way. In that, so the film's premise is that there's this curse that is passed on through sexual intercourse.
It's called Children, guys. Don't do it. Just kidding.
And so we follow Jay, who's a university student, and she sleeps with one of her like longtime crushes for the first time.
Aww.
But then after they have sex in the back of his car, she wakes up and she's tied to a chair, and he basically sort of says to her like, you know, I'm sorry, I have to, and you've got like, don't worry, if you pass it on, it won't hurt you. And he keeps saying it won't hurt you.
Yeah.
And the it in question is just this like manifestation of so many weird things throughout the film. Like 1 minute it's like a naked old man staggering after you, and then another time it's like a giant who's like staggering after you.
Oh, yeah.
What I like about the film is that normally with psychological horrors, the pacing is really kind of slow, or like it meanders in that it tries to build up the tension through the scares of the film.
Yeah.
What I like about It Follows, it appeals to my kind of what I like about slashers, in that like there's always going to be another scene and another scene where the killer is there and it's like relentlessly after you.
Yeah.
If it wasn't the fact that I don't think you can class the It thing as a monster, I would say it's kind of like a monster film.
Yeah.
But it's almost undefiable because you're never actually sure of what the thing is.
It's almost in the same vein as the Babadook, isn't it?
Yeah.
They use the visual manifestation to show you what's scaring them, but whether or not that thing is actually real and there is questionable, right?
Yeah, I mean, because at this point in time, a lot of films, so it was like 2014, a lot of films were like inspired by the fact that they didn't want to sort of like place it in a time and place.
Yeah.
It's almost very timeless in that when it could be set.
Oh, very, very, yeah.
I think I remember him saying to unnerve people, but I think what he means by that in that he doesn't want anyone to feel comfortable with that they know where this is. All you do know for definite is that it's set in Detroit, in Michigan. Apart from that, that's all you know. You don't know much else other than the fact that it's set in this place and there's these kids that have to contend with this thing following them.
I think the reason that they do that in some movies to sort of like not be indicative of a place or a time is that in certain decades there are certain tropes of horror. So like in the old days, like when the B movies, monster movies came out, it would usually be a cop or an army person or the government that would like kill off the baddies. Whereas when you go into like the more 70s, 80s, you have that trope of the unreliable adult figure.
Yeah.
And I think those markers help you to compartmentalize and know how it's going to end and who to sort of look at as the savior, if you see what I mean. If you knew this was set in the like 90s, for instance, you'd look at a film like this and think, okay, well, she's the final girl. She's going to kill the baddie at the end. That's how it's going to go, right?
Yeah.
But because you don't know when it's set and you have nothing to kind of like anchor it to, it makes it scarier because you don't know how it's going to end.
Yeah, and with the film being so like timeless, you're right that because it's not set in a particular like decade where like films are indicative of that time, it purposely makes you focus on the creature itself in terms of like this is the only kind of signifier you get for what is possibly going to be facing these kids.
Yeah.
And the fact that the creature itself, because it changes its facade so often. So for instance, when they run into that kind of like boathouse type place,
oh yeah,
he's one thing going in,
yeah,
but then he comes crashing through the wall as this massive giant man.
Yeah.
And you think to yourself, what the hell is going on? And it's even more terrifying that you know that it can adapt to like face whatever you're possibly facing.
Yeah.
It's almost like Michael in Halloween, because this creature doesn't ever run, I don't think, from what I remember.
No, it just walks.
It just walks. And to me, that is the most terrifying thing in the in the entire world.
Yeah.
And like, just on a side note, because I remember like when I was younger that me and my sister were stalked by this random guy. And I said to my sister, on the count of 3, bend down and pretend that you're tying your shoelace.
Yeah.
Because my reasoning was, if it's a guy that wasn't following us, he would walk past.
Yeah.
And I always remember, as I went to go bend down to tie my shoelace, he hid behind a bush.
Oh.
Yeah, and I think for me, that's the thing that's always stuck with me. So when I watched this film and there was just this thing that just was forever behind you, following you, and there was no matter where you went, you just couldn't get away from it. And I think there's a lot of horror in that for everyone.
Oh, definitely. That is, I mean, I can remember watching it in 2014 and feeling, I think I said to Rich, like, I'm so happy. And he was like, why? Because you're scared. And I said, yeah, but for the first time in a really, really long time, I actually felt scared by a horror movie. Like, actually scared.
Yeah.
Which hadn't happened in so long. And I was so impressed and happy, because it sucks when you watch a horror movie, but you're not actually scared. You know, jump scares are very different from like scared.
Yeah, definitely. And like sometimes I need that antidote to the things that I like enjoy. Like stated earlier, I often watch horror films because they entertain me. That's why I like a lot of slashers, because it's very kind of like in your face. It's very kind of like jump scary in terms of like it's a guy with a knife. It's almost like it's the adrenaline. So like I get off on the fact that like the protagonist is being like adrenalized. Did that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. On that note, I'll leave it there.
So, I think you will approve of my number 6, because it is the one that started the subgenre of parody. Guess what it is?
Scary movie.
Ah, basically. Scream.
Bow, 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 bow. So spoilers. This is on my list somewhere.
I knew it would be.
Yeah.
I chose Scream in the middle of my list because it scared me the first time I watched it, when I was like, I don't know, 12 or something.
Yeah,
Something
like me.
inappropriate.
Were you like not the proper age to watch it?
Oh, yes.
But don't you think we were the perfect age to watch it? This is what I argue about certification sometimes.
Kids are always going to be more scared than adults, right?
Yeah, true.
But I chose it because watching it back, it doesn't scare me, but I can appreciate how scary it is, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
In that it's based in real life, which is scary to me anyway, because it could happen. I always think that to myself. Like the beginning scene with Drew Barrymore still actually scares me every time I watch it, because there's nothing in it that doesn't root it in reality, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
I think it is the perfect balance between parody and sincerity, in that it sends up the tropes, but it's not a scary movie, if you get me.
Yeah, what I love about the parody aspect of it is that if you aren't a like a movie buff or even like a horror buff, you're not gonna get what it's doing. But if you are, it's like an extra like special Easter egg for you to say, like, it's like Wes Craven saying to you, this is your reward for being a fan. Thank you.
I think the acting is actually pretty solid in it as well. I mean, Neve Campbell is not my favourite actress, I'm not gonna lie.
She's fantastic in this.
I don't think she's very convincing.
Do you love her as Sydney though?
Yes.
That's a no.
No, it's not a no. It's not a no. I like her as Sydney, but I think it's more to do with the way that Sydney is written. Although I think her comment about being sexually anorexic is a bit is a bit insensitive. But I think that it deserves a place in the top 10, as it probably is for most people anyway, because it's very simple in its execution. There's a backstory, but it's not that prevalent until the ending, when the sort of motive is revealed. But the actual story is so straightforward.
Yeah.
It's a killer slashing people. That's literally the plot, like, for the whole thing.
And for me, it's the only horror film franchise that has a satisfying arc for its leading lady. I am entirely satisfied up until this point of where Sydney's story goes. And I never feel like her actions are a betrayal of the character.
No, that's true.
She doesn't do anything in any of the films that you think to yourself, oh, Sydney wouldn't do that. And if anything, if she does do stuff, like for instance, so Scream 3,
yeah,
when she stands up to the killer in that film, it's such a massive payoff to all the misery she's been through for the past, like, 3 films, that you think to yourself, yeah, you get him, girl. You get it.
You've had enough.
And so then when she comes back in Scream 4, the fact that she's this older, wiser mentor type character it's so earned. And I don't think, apart from maybe Laurie Strode, but the history of that franchise has been recanonized anyway now. The fact that Scream has like kept its canon throughout the entire like franchise, it has such a like epic storyline for that character. And not just that character. I mean, you could argue Dewey and Gail have some sort of a journey that they go through.
Yeah.
But Sydney, for me, is such the epitome of the final girl that you have to put Scream somewhere on your list because there's so much like rich history to it now.
It's a weird one because actually I think Scream is a slasher and it is a send up, but I think there's a lot of heart to it as well, which is what I like about it.
Yeah.
It really shows how much a death impacts on a person. You know, the fact that like Sydney is so, I mean, in a lot of movies, you know, it's not really a spoiler if they say it in the first 5 minutes. Sydney's mother is killed. She's dead. And usually it's a bit of a throwaway thing in a movie. Like to explain away not having the mum around, they go, "My mum died when I was a baby." You know, like, and it's kind of a bit of a throwaway. Whereas in this, her mum's death affects her the whole way through the movies, not just the first one, all the movies.
Yeah.
And it's really, I mean, even the kills that are a bit more cannon foddery, the vast majority of them tend to be quite sad. That's what I like about it. Even though I really enjoy a slasher film when the kills are just for fun and it's just like gore and stuff, Scream has so much heart and so much emotion behind it. And they didn't have to do that. When they were writing the script and sort of saying, right, we're going to do like a send up of the slasher genre, they could have made it very sort of like tongue-in-cheek, like more tongue-in-cheek and like, oh, okay, these are just cannon fodder. But I think it has a lot of emotional weight behind it. I chose it because I think it is earned. It's not, I didn't choose it because it's like, you know, pretend like a film student film to pick. I chose it because it scared the life out of me when I was little. It's still really effective. The acting is solid, even from Neve.
Yeah.
And it hits you where it hurts. It hurts me in the heart.
I totally agree with that. And it's on my list. So when we get to it, I think we spoke about it enough. But I'll just mention why I picked it on my list when I get to it. But my number 6 is Sleepy Hollow.
Oh, interesting.
So the reason why I picked it is because it's a film that I always go to of Tim Burton's when I want to watch a Tim Burton film. It's very horror in the old sense of the word, literally and figuratively in terms of like the subject matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
I find the Headless Horseman so terrifying in a kind of like monster mash kind of way, in that for me he's not out of place alongside Freddy, Jason, Michael. I think the acting in it is amazing. Johnny Depp is tolerable in this film because he's kind of he suits it. Yeah, like we mentioned in our last podcast. Christina Ricci is stunning.
Yeah. Yep. She is.
She's the most beautiful I've seen her in any film, and I think she's the perfect kind of foil to Tim Burton's wackiness. She does put on this kind of like, oh, damsel, oh, but like it suits the era.
Yeah, it's like the Hammer feels.
Yeah, and there's a point in the film when the true villain is revealed, and I'm just like, yeah.
I knew it.
I'm like, yes, I'm not going to spoil it. And the kills are fantastic in it.
Oh, they are, yeah.
The point in the film when like the governor or whatever of the town, the mayor, is at that podium and then like the spike just comes through. Like, oh my God.
So good.
And you can tell that like, I mean, there was CGI in it, definitely. But you can tell that like the special effects, you know, when the heads get cut off and they go rolling along the floor.
They are literally like pumpkins, aren't they?
Yeah, like you wouldn't get that if they chose to do that with CGI.
No.
And the fact that like they choose to just use real heads, like prop heads, I should say. They're not using. Can
you imagine? Tim's like, guys, I want you to commit. You really have to commit to this role.
We're going method, guys. Method. I mean, it has everything that I love about supernatural type horror. You've got like a monster, you've got witchcraft, You've got old Victorian era. It's brilliant. It's 100%. Like, if you haven't seen it, go find it. And also, it's one of those films that I always go back to so that I can remember that Tim Burton used to be great.
Yeah, and do you know what? It's a really good pick because it is horror. I'll admit that it's not the first film that comes to my mind when I think of horror, because usually with me, horror is more serious.
Yeah.
But it has such a perfect blend of comedy and horror in it. It's almost like you could show it to a child and they wouldn't be scared. Like, scared.
It's also like, in some places, a really convincing action film.
Yeah.
When they're on that carriage and they're being pursued by the Headless Horseman. Like, there's stunts in that you would assume that you'd see in, like, a modern-day action film. The fact that he goes underneath the carriage.
And I won't spoil it, but there's a scene, and if you know, you know, but there's a scene with a family and a child, and that every time is like...
Yeah.
Ugh! It's not gory, you don't see anything, but the visual storytelling is very upsetting. That's what I'll say for it.
And it's based on the old legend of, like, the Headless Horseman, like Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah.
But it was so smart of Tim Burton to actually set it in that period and not to make it modern.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you've seen the Sleepy Hollow TV series, even though I think it's good, the Sleepy Hollow TV series, it loses something about it, the fact that it's set in the here and now. But yeah, Sleepy Hollow is my number 6. It's just a great film.
That is a great pick.
So let's go to number 5. Jess, what's your 5th pick?
Okay, so this is probably my most recent... Yes, this is my most recent film on my list. And it is... Us by Jordan Peele.
Ugh, disagree.
2018. You disagree?
I disagree. It shouldn't be on your list, sorry.
Oh! Okay.
I'm joking!
What do you like? Okay, so I was discussing this with Rich because, like I said, this has been a stressful time for me. And I said, right, I think I want to put Us, even though I've only seen it the once in the cinema and I couldn't find it on streaming. I didn't want to pay for it because I'm a cheapskate. But I remember it very, very well.
Put 5 on it.
Yes! Right? It's about drugs. And I said, I want to put Us on my top 10 list. And Rich said, what about Get Out?
Ugh!
And I said, right? But, I was thinking about it very long and hard. Get Out does not scare me. And I don't know if that's because of the tone of it or because I'm not a person of colour. Maybe it's more scary for a person of colour. I don't know. But Us unnerved me to the point where I wanted to leave the cinema.
Yeah.
Like, there's almost the kind of controversy with Us and Get Out in the same way that people talk about Tangled and Frozen, which we won't get into. But
Tangled.
I will argue Us is the more conventional horror film in that it incorporates... It's not as modern. It's more of a fairy tale like horror story, which I like, which I appreciate. Get Out is a weird one in that it's rooted in reality, but the plot is not realistic at all. So it's not something that I think could happen, which doesn't... Like, I like my things to be either, like, really inconceivable or really, like, realistic.
I'm being half fallacious when I sort of go about Get Out. Just that, like, in my humble opinion, I feel like Get Out is the more overrated of Jordan Peele's recent films. However, I will put a caveat on that, in that I think, like you just mentioned, I think Get Out would appeal more to person of colour than it would Us, because it is obviously a commentary on how people of colour are treated, the history of slavery and that sort of thing, that I think there's certain things that we just can't understand as being, like, Caucasian.
Yeah, exactly. The thing with Get Out, I feel, is that it's all... Obviously, it's all, like, subjective. Get Out is more tongue-in-cheek humour. It made me laugh. I was laughing the whole way through it, like all the way they'd speak to him and stuff. I was like, I could feel myself laughing because it was like, oh my god, this is ridiculous. Like, people actually speak like this, you know. Whereas Us, honestly, it made me... The first few scenes... I mean, obviously I'd seen the trailers, so I knew it was going to be a horror movie. So in the first few scenes, it was like, a bit uncomfortable. You sort of thought, like, okay, they're off on this, like, retreat, which is never good, is it? When a family goes on holiday in a horror movie, you always know things going to go down. The way that the mum was acting in certain scenes, Adelaide was acting in certain scenes, I was thinking, okay, something's a bit up here. The bit where it kicks in and there's the home invasion again.
Jess, do you feel unsafe in your home? Is that what you're trying to tell us?
Literally, like, I lock all my doors and windows. There's bars on our windows for a reason, Mitch.
To keep you in.
There actually is, yeah, that's it. The bit where the doppelganger family are stood outside in the shadow and they're just stood there and the family inside are like waiting for them to come. The way it's shot and the way that the characters act and the fact that, like we said in It Follows, they're not running. Well, you don't see them running at this point anyway at the house. They're just standing there, intimidating. And that scared the bejesus out of me. I remember physically in the cinema wanting to leave because I was like, this is making me feel so uncomfortable right now. I just want to get out of here. Lupita Nyong'o's performance, for me, it doesn't make the film, but it is one of the things that is terrifying about it. And it's weird because Lupita Nyong'o in real life is so sweet. Well, I never met her, but yeah, she seems very sweet. In this, I would not want to be within 10 miles of her because she scares the life out of me. Like the way that she moves always reminds me, especially at the end when they're, it reminds me of like a marionette doll. That's the only way that I can describe it.
Yeah.
That move so unnaturally and so, it makes me feel sick just thinking about it. And I think the movement of the characters in this is what makes it so scary for me. And that the reason that I'm not a massive fan of stop motion in terms of the old stop motion that you used to see is that the movements are unnatural and that's what freaks me out. And in this, the way that the characters move and act, and obviously this is real people, but in Us, I feel it has that, when you get down to the villains in Bunny Ears, Big Bunny Ears, the villains in it, that's what it reminds me of. And it just makes me feel so uncomfortable. Basically, the whole film just really if I'm honest, it just creeps me the fuck out. It really does. Like, there are bits of it that are more sort of conventional, kind of just like, being pursued in the woods, blah, blah, blah. But for the most part, I find it really, really unsettling. And that's why it's like number 5. Bang in the middle.
We might pick it, I think, in future, because I think it's one of those films that deserve a deeper discussion. A bit like It Follows as well.
I agree.
So that was your number 5. Right, so my number 5 is a bit more conventional. It's another parody type film.
Okay.
And it is 2012's Cabin in the Woods.
Oh, okay.
So even though people are under the misconception that this is a Joss Whedon film, it's not. It's a Drew Goddard film, who is a very underrated content creator in terms of that he's done a lot of writing and producing. So he was involved heavily in Buffy and Angel as a writer. That's how he knows Joss Whedon. He did a lot for J.J. Abrams on Alias and Lost. He wrote but didn't direct Cloverfield. And his second only film, which I haven't seen, we started watching but we stopped. Not because I was bored, I just didn't have the time. But he wrote and directed Bad Times in El Royale.
Oh, I wanted to see that.
Yeah. So the reason why I bring up his credits is because when you watch Cabin in the Woods, you could be mistaken that this could just be any episode of Buffy or Angel. And for me, that's what makes the film so enjoyable. Other than the fact that there's Amy Acker, who's a notable Angel alumni.
Yeah.
And the fact that Joss Whedon produced it. So obviously it has his signature fingerprints all over the film. But in a brief synopsis of the film, it's basically the fact that you see 2 types of film in one. So you see the Cabin in the Woods type film involving the college students. But then on the other side of it, you get this kind of office comedy, I would say.
Oh, the underground.
Yeah, when you follow this shadowy organisation who have to, so many number of years, have to sort of do a sacrifice to appease the older gods that live beneath the world's crust. If you haven't seen the film, I don't want to give too much away because a lot of the jokes and the horror of the film rely on the kind of shock aspect of it.
Yes.
It has a for Chris Hemsworth in it.
Yeah, it does.
Which I absolutely love. And if you're a Buffy fan, you'll love the fact that Ron the intern is played by Andrew from Buffy.
I freaking love Andrew. I don't even call him by his like real name. Whenever he's in anything, I just go Andrew. He was in House the other day, and I was like, me and Rich both went Andrew.
And there is a Jordan Peele connection in terms of it has Bradley Whitford in it, who plays the racist father in Get Out.
Oh yeah, so it is. You're right.
So yeah, to say it's just a horror comedy is kind of selling the film short, because it presents itself as just a conventional like cabin in the woods horror with a knowing glances to like the horror genre. So it does somewhat what Scream did back in the day, but it subverts it in that it sort of folds in on itself in terms of like that wasn't what I expected, but it was so much more brilliant than what I could have hoped for.
I feel like you go in expecting like cabin fever, and you go out with like when you do a Tesco shop and they substitute for something completely different.
The film receives a lot of backlash after it came out from like fans, because I think, unlike me, they went in expecting something different, but they weren't happy with what they got. And I hate to bring everything back to Buffy, but
no, you don't. You love to bring everything back to Buffy.
I love it. But like, the whole premise of Buffy was the fact that like Joss Whedon was giving the final girl who should be the first victim her power back.
Yeah.
What I like about this is that it's almost saying, we know that you know horror and what goes on behind the scenes to make things scary, so we're going to show you it within the film, and it's being controlled by these people, by this nefarious corporation.
Spoilers.
Yeah, well, it's always like season 4 of Buffy, and it's the initiative behind it. And that part of it I found really enjoyable.
I will be honest, I loved it up until the end, and I absolutely hated the way it ended. Which obviously I'm not going to go into. And I'm talking about like the actual final scene here, like not the end, not the climax, but the ending, because I thought it was selfish. But I can't really say anything more on the pod because it's spoilery. But up until the end, I really liked it, but I did not like the actions of the characters in the last scene.
Well, like a lot of things on this list, Cabin in the Woods is on my short list of things that we're going to talk about on the actual movie review. So I'm not going to go too far in depth with it. And also, I don't want to spoil too much. So Jess is right. If I talk anymore, I will be spoiling it. But so let's move on. So let's go on to number 4. So Jess, what is your 4th horror film on the list?
So I'm not sure that many people will have seen it, especially not outside of Britain. But my number 4 is Eden Lake.
This was on my list and I took it off.
So, for anyone that hasn't seen it, I will recap because it's not massively well known. It's essentially a spin, I would say, on the American version of the kind of the hillbilly horror, in that a well-to-do couple go for a nice idyllic kind of camping break in the British countryside, but they come across a gang of hoodies, as they call them. So basically they are intimidated and then turned upon by this group of youths. Those darn youths.
Oh, the youths.
The youths of today. And things really go from bad to worse.
Oh, God.
That's the only way I can describe it. I chose it because I remember watching it the first time and turning it off and just feeling angry.
Yes.
Like really uncontrollably angry and frustrated. Which doesn't necessarily, be akin to a movie that you enjoy and want to put on your top 10 list, but I think it just did its job so well. I mean, I don't think it's unfair to say that British film isn't always the most effective. I don't know. I think sometimes the way that British stuff is made isn't necessarily hugely communicative to like other audiences. Like, we get it in England.
The thing about British film that sometimes is like really annoying is that it tries to live up to the Hollywood counterparts. So like, for instance, a good example is if you've ever seen the British film Dog Soldiers, it's about a group of army reserves who go on a scouting, like when they do the whole kind of like backpacking across the hills sort of thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, they come across like werewolves and obviously get infected themselves and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, what annoys me about that film is that it's so much living up to the fact that, oh, in Hollywood, we take something that's so mundane and we make it supernatural. Whereas this film, Eden Lake,
it's not supernatural in the slightest.
and it's so real to the British people, and it's going to be hard for us to sort of translate it to a international audience in the fact that, like, Britain in particular time, and it's almost sort of like, it hasn't subsided so much, but there's a element of UK society that this film represents in that it's almost youth out of control.
It's intimidation. It's the fact
Yeah.
that you cannot reason with. I don't mean to say that people who are impoverished are stupid. That's not
What I'm saying either.
But a certain subsect of the people that are impoverished in Britain are very angry, and they don't deal with things in the same way that most people would, and that is scary because you can't reason with them. They act on pure anger and instinct, and they don't listen to any sort of reason. All they care about is getting their testosterone out. Do you know what I mean? They just want to fight. All they want to do is fight, basically. It's fight or flight, and they want to fight, basically. And you follow this couple played by Michael Fassbender and Kelly Riley, and there's nothing massively notable about them. They're just kind of the vessel, they're kind of just the regular middle class couple. They've got like a Range Rover, and they've got good. I think they're teachers. Can't remember.
Yeah, she definitely is. Yeah,
she's a teacher. Yeah, and they're nice people. They don't hurt anyone, and they come across this group who just make it very, very difficult for them to exist in a way, an easy life sort of. They just want to sunbathe and play in the lake and this, and these youths intimidate them to the point where that's impossible, and they make the wrong decision and they don't just leave. If it was me, I'd just leave, but hey. A lot of people don't, because they think they can reason with them. That's the thing, is that they make the mistake of trying to reason with people that are unreasonable, and then bad things happen.
And the thing about this film that, hits the nail on the head so hard is the fact that, like, these people are a product of their environment. And
Yeah.
I think in the last 10 minutes of the film, and I'm not going to spoil anything, I feel like the director gets across, without really explaining much of anything, of why the kids did what they did. I don't think we can say much else without spoiling it, but yeah.
I would describe it as hopeless. When I watch it, I feel hopeless.
Yeah.
And it's a very negative emotion, but at the same time, it lends itself very well to horror, because that's what it's meant. It is meant to horrify you, and it does. And I think it's super effective. And that's why, even though it's quite a low budget kind of British horror film that not many people have seen, that's why it's so high up on my list, because it makes me feel so strongly when I watch it.
Right. So, like, my number 4 is a little well. No, I'm joking. It's not a little well-known film. It's another slasher film, of course.
Of course.
And it is You're Next.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's very similar to Ready or Not in the aspect of the fact that it's like set all in one place in like a home invasion type thing. Oh, your favourite home invasion.
And like a new family type thing.
Yeah, it's like all very like family centric.
Yeah.
But unlike Ready or Not, where the pursuers are the family itself, they are pursued by outsiders who are wearing these various different animal masks. And it's a very simple film, because if I've revealed too much, it will reveal the amazing twist.
Yes.
I love the twist. But the film should be noted as the fact that, like, it takes the trope of the final girl and it turns her into a maniac.
Yeah.
In the final girl is Erin, played by Shani Visen. She is you find out that she was the product of her father's doomsday preparation. In the fact that she has all these different, she knows how to survive. She is like a born fighter.
She's like Ray Mears.
Yeah.
With boobs.
Like Bear Grylls.
Yeah.
But it's a very strong feminist film in terms of the fact that, like, She is our main character. She is a final girl that is not scared. If anything, she steps up. I mean, if anything, her husband is the whiny pussy in the film.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And
I remember rightly. It only has jump scares when there's an actual kill.
yes.
If you see what I mean. And I remember liking that about it, if I remember rightly, because a lot of the time, I don't mind a jump scare. Jump scares can be extremely effective. But when it's like, oh, it's a cat. Oh, it's their face in the mirror. Oh, you know, it drives me mad.
And in fact, the way it uses its horror, it loves doing the whole kind of, you've got the actor in the foreground and you can see the assailant slowly coming up behind them.
Yes.
The director, Adam Wingard, he has a brilliant way of sort of raising the tension without using jump scares. But when like you're right, when he uses jump scares, it's because there's an immediate action.
Yeah, exactly.
He won't do the fake, like when they open the medicine cabinet
Yeah.
to then close it and he's behind the girl. He will do that if it's going to be killed there and then.
Yes.
He is confident enough of the fact that these killers that he's shaped in terms of how they look, the aesthetic of the animal masks are so like off-putting that he doesn't need to scare you by using cheap jumps.
Exactly. No, I think that's a really good pick.
Yeah, but there's not much I can say about the film without spoiling it. But if you love slashers like I do, then go seek it out.
If you would have a twisty twist.
Yeah. But let's go to our number 3. We're getting into like the podium positions now.
I know.
Oh.
So for bronze place on my little podium is this is another one that I had to kind of and ah with a certain director. But I went with Hereditary, 2016 by Ari Aster.
So this was on my list. I took it off only because. Do you know what? Actually,
Blasphemy.
No. This was in the Your Next position.
Oh, interesting.
But the only reason why I took it off is because I enjoy Your Next more. But that's not to say that I didn't like Hereditary.
I don't think anyone enjoys Hereditary.
No.
I wouldn't say it's a fun movie.
I first watched it at your house with Rich because you got sick.
Oh, was that the night I was sick?
Yeah, you went to bed. And then Steve couldn't keep his eyes open, so he went to bed. So I ended up watching the whole film with Rich. It was just us two.
Oh, cozy.
Yeah.
Oh my god, guys, I did not know this. My boyfriend and my best friend snuggled up watching Hereditary together. Hold me.
I'm scared.
Oh, you know something new every day. Oh. Okay, so apart from the snuggles with Rich, how did it make you feel?
Sick. Like, honestly, there's not a lot of films that, like, make me feel sick to my stomach, but this one did.
I find it kind of funny that you were watching it while I was throwing up upstairs. I imagine that didn't help, to be honest. But yeah, so I picked this one. I also really liked Ari Aster's follow-up, which was Midsummer.
I would put it over this, actually.
Oh, I really ummed and ahed. I really did.
I don't blame you for picking Hereditary, because it's the one that people are going to go to.
I picked this one because I just think it's more memorable.
Yeah.
And I think the acting is actually maybe a little better in it. Basically, so the premise of Hereditary is simply that it's almost a family drama in a way. You've got the mother, the father, and the 2 children, Peter and Charlie. Their grandmother's just died, and essentially their mum, Toni Collette, is grieving and finding out a lot of suspicious, supernaturally stuff about her, after her death, and kind of exploring that and trying to make sense of it all. In the meantime, I can't really spoil because it would really ruin it for you, but a lot of kind of nasty things happen to all the family members, and it's one that I've watched several times now. Actually, I've watched it alone, I've watched it with friends, and each time it's made me feel. The first time obviously was more shocking, but each time it makes me feel ill, and also you notice small things as well when you watch it a second time. And I fucking love movies like that where you watch it the first time and you're like, oh my god, it's amazing, and then you watch it again and the little details that you find, especially if you know the twist and things like that, it just makes it so enjoyable. But anyway, this deals with the occult, and there are some really kind of what Ari Aster does is that he makes watching it feel very voyeuristic, in that you're looking into the dollhouses that she's making, because she's like a miniature artist. You're looking into all these very intimate scenes in their lives. It's all close-ups of them in the car, you know, when they're grieving, especially like a certain scene that I won't spoil, but there's a certain scene when they're grieving, and it really makes you just, oh, your heart breaks. And a lot of it is the sort of horror that is what you don't see is what's scarier.
It's very Wicker Man in its approach, but like unlike Wicker Man, where it's set in a sort of like commune, which is sort of like outside the norm, it's like Wicker Man and the cult, but within the family unit.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, definitely. It has a kind of, if I could sum it up in one emotion, it would be dread.
Yes.
Like when I watch it, I feel dread, which is not easy, I don't think, for a movie to accomplish, actually. To make someone sit there and just feel, you know, an overwhelming sense of dread is quite difficult, I think. And to maintain that throughout the whole movie.
The one thing I will say, I know it sounds really silly because I know we couldn't possibly understand because like we're not part of that world, but like
Part of your world.
I find his films, and I've only seen two, so I've only seen Hereditary and Midsummer, but I find them so culturally interesting. So like Midsummer, he makes living in a commune like that seem so like culturally enriching until you get to the obviously horror aspect of it.
See, I always find cults creepy no matter what, so I didn't read it that way. I think that's actually the really interesting thing, though, is that in both Midsummer and Hereditary, the theme of gaslighting and sort of the manipulation of people is really strong.
Yeah.
Like, really strong. I feel like Ari Aster probably has some issues with gaslighting.
Yeah.
Because the whole time, they're telling the protagonist, no, what you're seeing isn't real, what you're seeing isn't real. And it is, but no one believes them. And that is in the same way that I find Mother, like, because we talked about Mother.
Yeah.
And I said about how that made me feel, the whole being ignored and being told that you're crazy when you're not, and all this is very scary to me. And I think that's why Hereditary and Midsummer are so effective, because it is very scary to feel like what you're perceiving is not real. It takes me into the movie, and that's how I feel about Hereditary.
Okay.
What's your numero tres?
Talking of sexy witches, the 1996 film The Craft.
Oh, okay.
I picked it because, for me, The Craft is a seminal film in my childhood. In that it came out in 1996, but I was too young to obviously like even be aware of that sort of film at the time.
Yeah.
But it became such a massive film amongst my peer group in the early years of high school. When I watched it, because I'd already seen Scream prior to this,
Right.
so I knew about Skeet Ulrich, I knew about Neve Campbell.
Yeah.
And the film was so like pivotal in fostering my love of the supernatural, because I'd obviously been a fan of Buffy before then.
Yeah.
And it sort of really did become one of those films that really influenced me as a writer, and in terms of like what I think horror can be, and in my opinion should be, which is both enjoyable, sexy, and horrific at the same time. And for me, Nancy is one of the top villains of all time in films.
She scares the shit out of me.
Because she is both terrifying but like relatable at the same time, especially if you're a teenager, like an angsty teenager at the time.
Yeah.
The things that she wants, she can't get, like what you can't. But at the same time, you feel so ostracized, but you love that at the same time. So she encompasses all like the teenage angst in like one perfect human being.
Oh no, I completely agree. It has. I like the way as well that it has all the different sorts of characters that you do meet at high school. You have the ostracized sort of, because she lives in a trailer, doesn't she? Isn't she quite like poor?
Yeah, she is like the white trash, trailer trash.
Yeah, and then you have like obviously the new kid. Well, most people can relate to being a new person in a situation, new school, new uni, you know, whatever, new neighborhood. Oh god, what's her name? Is it Jane?
Sarah.
Sarah.
Yeah.
Like Neve Campbell, the sort of the one that's like ostracized because of like her disfigurement and all this. And then I've forgotten the name of the
Oh, Rochelle. That's it.
Rochelle. Obviously she's got the ostracization of her colour, as a loose point. So I like the kind of the outcasts getting revenge sort of subplot thing.
Yeah.
It's weird, because like some of the movies that you've brought up, I don't see as like horror. Do you know what I mean? Like I get that they're like kind of Halloween-y films, but like I think I need to rethink my idea of what a horror is, if you see what I mean.
Yeah. What I love about so they are remaking The Craft.
Are they? What a surprise.
But the reason why I'm not angry about it is because I feel like The Craft is such a perfect format to talk about the others in culture.
Yeah.
Because it's so much about the outsiders and the othering. Because the rumour is that they're going to be dealing with a transgendered witch.
Oh, okay.
And what I love about that is the fact that, like, the original film is so much about female empowerment that it'd be interesting for them to deal with that, given the fact that one of them would have been a biological man.
Right.
So I'll be interested to see how they deal with that. Because in The Craft, they sort of say that the witch gene is passed on through the female line. So it'd be interesting to see if they sort of either widen the gap to say that, like, oh no, like everyone in the world can become a witch if they want to. But I would kind of like them to not do that, because then it means that, like, this person sort of was born into the wrong body and they should have always been a female. But I'm getting onto a deeper discussion.
Well, you can always watch The Covenant if you want a male witch.
That was nearly on my list.
It's not terrible. It's enjoyable for what it is, and I think that's a lot of what makes horror so charming, is that it doesn't have to be like, bloody Citizen Kane. It's just scary.
The Covenant has a lot of sexy menses in it.
They're not my kind of sexy men's, but
it's got
Stephen Strait.
Yeah, who's like War and Peace in Sky High.
Oh yeah, so he is. I think he's in the Haunting of Hill House as well, if I remember correctly.
Is he?
I think so. Doesn't he play the older brother? Am I going mad?
No, that's not him.
Is it not him?
No,
Oh.
but he's sexy too.
He's pretty sexy.
Anyway, so Craft. Let's leave it there. So let's go to the next one.
It bewitched you. It bewitched you.
I'm a sucker for the occult and witches anyway, so like that's why it had to be on my list. Yeah. It's because I want to be Harry Potter, so let's leave it there.
Aww. You'll always be Harry Potter to me.
So we're getting to the nitty-gritty now, so I want to find out what's on your silver podium.
Okay, so this one is probably no surprise to anyone that knows me.
Mary Poppins.
It's a horror for you, Mitch. It's a joyous experience for me.
God blimey, Mary Poppins.
Anyway, Mary Poppins is a witch. You should love it.
I just don't like him.
I know, but you have to get over it. Yes, I've chosen Jaws. And this will not come as a surprise to anyone. I chose it because, although one could argue that it's more of a adventure monster movie,
It's a horror film.
to me it's a horror film. Wikipedia says it's a thriller. Well,
No. My definition of a thriller, sorry to interrupt, my definition of a thriller is best summed up by detective films, no?
yeah, like mystery.
Yeah.
Like not knowing, like who is it? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you could argue, I suppose, that the shark is a bit of like a mysterious killer, but not really. Like, everyone knows it's a shark.
Yeah.
I chose it because I don't watch it so much for the scares these days, because I've watched it 100 times, so it doesn't scare me anymore. But I remember it scaring me, and whenever I go in the sea, like me and a million other people, I will not take my feet off the sand, because all I can hear is the music, and I'm just thinking, holy shit, the shark's gonna get me. And it's weird because I actually love sharks. They're like one of my favorite animals. I think they're really interesting and cool, but I am fucking scared of them because of the movie, and that says a lot, I think. Obviously everyone knows the stories of how it was like super hard to film, and they had like massive troubles, and it was one of the first movies to be shot like actually at sea, so it was like super challenging, and a lot of the way that they had to hide the shark was more down to like necessity than sorry Steve, but it wasn't necessarily down to like genius. But it's got some really, really creepy moments, like in the under the boat and the beginning scene. It, I think, builds really good tension in a lot of places where tension wouldn't usually be used in a movie. It plays on the paranoia as well. You know, there's a lot of scenes where Brody is watching the sea in the same way that like Jay would be watching and It Follows for, you know,
Yeah.
where is it? Where is it? It could be anywhere and you don't know till it hits. It just scares me, and I think it just does a really good job of building tension and fear, and it's a very primal fear as well, because again, it could I mean, obviously there wouldn't be a shark that big, but it could still happen. You could still get attacked by a shark very easily in the water.
And it's quite a unique film in terms of that, because everyone I've heard who have read the book have said that like it's one of the most poorly written things they've ever read.
It's not great. It's very I when I think of the book, I think of the word seedy. It's just kind of a bit like it has some good bits, but the movie is far superior.
And that's what makes it a great film, that it takes something from like, you know, like that's like textual and then makes it like visually just like superior.
I mean, there's a scene in it which is quite famous. Is the one that they parody a lot, I guess, with the two fishermen, and they fall into the water, and all you can see is the the little bit of the dock that the shark is pulling, and it's following them. You can't see it, and it's just it's such it uses such clever ways of making the shark there but not there.
Yeah.
You get me? Also, it's quite sad, like with the little boy and stuff. Like me and my sadness. Oh, I'm so obsessed. I just had to put it on my list somewhere, and I didn't want to put it on number one because, if I'm really honest, it doesn't scare me in the same way that my number one does.
Yeah.
But it is still makes me not want to go swimming, so it works. What's your number, Silver?
So
number Silver? Simba's not
my number Silver is also based on a book.
Ooh.
It's a 1997 slasher film again. I'm not going to apologise for having lots of slasher films on my list, because like I said, it's my list, nobody else's.
No, that's it. You guys can do your own list.
Yeah, you can do your own list.
Feel free to send them in to us.
Slasher gets me going. I don't know what that says about me.
He's a knife-happy bastard, guys.
Stick a knife in my back. Ooh.
Ooh.
But yeah, it's a 1997 slasher film, and it's... I Know What You Did Last Summer. Oh no. Do you disagree with it?
Well, I do, but I want to hear your thinking.
Okay, so the reason why I love the film, and I do love it, there is a lot of problems with the film, in the fact that I still don't think I get the twist of who the guy is and who was the guy that killed himself at the beginning of the film and who was the guy that got hit by a car. I'm still confused by all that.
Well, that says a lot for the rest of it if you're confused, but it's still your number two.
Yeah. But for me, I love... so I'm a big sucker for anything involving sort of like the high school setting and like the college setting, because I think it represents a time in your life where you're still innocent in the fact that you're not fully an adult yet, but you're also starting to come to terms with the fact that like your action has consequences.
Yes.
And this is what this film is all about. It's about your consequences coming back at you. And
yes,
it's sort of like the fight or flight complex. It's like you either deal with what's happened or you run away from it. And then, for instance, even though we've dragged Jennifer Love Hewitt in past podcasts, and I know how you feel about Julie James in the film, but I love the fact that once the sort of incident happens where they sort of kill that man and they dispose of the body, and it's not a spoiler because it happens at the first part of the film.
Yeah.
There's something so noble about the fact that the final girl in this film is the one person that feels totally guilty from the offset.
Yeah.
You could tell, because she says, "Let's go to the police." And everyone around her goes, "No, don't be silly." "Oh, Julie, what you like?" And I'm like, "No, go to the police."
Yeah,
like,
it was an accident.
Yeah, like you were drinking. Yes, I get that. But, and like you probably would get a slap on the wrist, or you might get like, I mean, I doubt they would give them the manslaughter, like, you know, and put them in jail because it was an accident.
I think the most they would get is a couple of months in prison.
Yeah, maybe. And they're all like, oh, it'll ruin your career. I'm like, well, first of all, Freddie Prinze Jr.'s character, Ray, he's destined to be a fisherman no matter what.
Yeah, definitely.
And, like, Julie, she wasn't driving the damn car. She was a passenger. So the only person that's really going to just, ruin his career is Ryan Felipe.
Yeah, but he's the one that's the most, like, fiery. The most aggressive.
But what I love about him is the fact that he's so like, my dad's going to kill me. It's his car. I shouldn't have had it. I'm like, for God's sake, you just killed someone.
I know.
Oh, but yeah.
But it's interesting because it shows the shallowness of teenagers, right?
Yeah, and that's what I love about this depiction of a slasher film. Because the trope is in slashers that is often deal with young kids. And I feel like this really does represent young teenagers and like what they find important, what they don't. Like, they're all worried about their future and how this would affect their future. Yet, in a way, it all affects them anyway.
I think I will admit, it has a very sort of like, I don't really know how to describe it. You know, there's sort of like in the 50s, they had those sort of like, Reader's Digest sort of like scary stories.
Yes.
Kind of like Twilight Zone-esque.
That sums it up.
Kind of story. That's how I feel about the plot.
Yeah.
There's nothing that I necessarily dislike about it. When I think back on all the scenes and that, I think, yeah, pretty good.
It's just too high on my list.
It's not too high on your list. It would be too high on my list, but it's not too high on your list.
Yeah, no, I respect that. I mean, it was a toss-up between this and Urban Legends.
Oh, love Urban Legend. The thing I think with this one, for me personally, is that it doesn't actually scare me. I like the themes of it. I like the setting. I think it's funny. And like you said, I really like the theme of like the guilt and things, because like we've said, everything's like it follows. It's the guilt coming back, and one of the main fears for humans, right, is like we don't like to face what we've done.
Yeah.
So I think that is a really effective story. I really do.
Because to be fair, like, a slasher film is a slasher film. There's not much I can say. It follows the same trope as every other slasher film. I just think it's a really well-made slasher, and I think it keeps you hooked until the very end.
Hooked.
Arr!
I know what he did.
But yeah, let's go to your number one.
Okay, so my number one is actually not the number one that I thought I would have when I first started like writing all the movies that I liked down. But I had to look at it as an overall sort of the movie that like scared me the most, that I thought was the most effective for its genre, which is not actually necessarily my favourite genre, if I'm honest. Subgenre even.
Oh, I'm hooked now.
But my favourite horror movie, my top horror movie of all time is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Ooh, the remake. Yeah, I agree.
No, the original. Blasphemy. The remake. Well, one of the remakes I saw wasn't too bad, but anyway.
Yeah, it was the remake I showed you. It was good.
Yeah, it was good. But no, this one I've chosen is the original, and it's a weird one because when you actually break it down in like story plot points, it is very, very basic. You know, the kids trespass onto this land, they get taken and murdered and all this, and then they escape. Well, one of them. That's a spoiler. The kids that go on, they trespass and they run into trouble, basically, is the plot. Which is nothing different from every other kind of slasher, movie of its time. However, thinking about it, when I watch it, it makes me feel dirty. Like, physically dirty. Like,
I was just thinking that.
Literally, honestly, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's so grotesque and uncomfortable from the very minute I put it on. The sound effects make me... It's like somebody sitting me in front of a chalkboard and someone running their fingernails down it for 2 hours or hour and a half, however long it is. But I like it. It does its job. Like, it was made in 1974, so it is dated, as you'd imagine. However, that adds to it, I think.
Yeah.
Because it looks old and grimy, and it doesn't look like they've been sat in a makeup chair. Do you know what I mean? I know it's not real, and I know they say that it's based on a true story, and it's not. But it's so horrible to watch. And when you watch it alone in a dark room by yourself, and you've got this horrible scraping soundtrack, and these people that are acting, the villains particularly, these people that are acting like they're not acting, it's so unnerving. The way it's shot as well is almost quite documentary-ish. If you see what I mean, it's not massively cinematic, in my opinion. It's all quite closed in, like they're doing it on handheld recorders quite a lot of the time, which makes it more realistic. Leatherface isn't my favourite of all the horror villains, but I think he's the one that is the most suitable for his environment.
Yeah.
If you see what I mean. Like, I believe that there is somebody like that in the shit towns of America where nobody goes and people are eating each other for survival.
Yeah.
And it's just disgusting.
Leatherface is one of those villains that, like, when filmmakers attempt to sort of give a reasoning for, like, why he became what he became.
Yeah, ugh, yeah.
I always feel like saying to them, like, there was no need for you to make that film, because you could just simply sum it up as saying he's a product of his environment. So, like, leave it up to our imaginations of how he became this sort of, like, killer, rather than explain it to us. But, like, at the same time, it says a lot about the character in that it makes sense when they show you it.
I think the fact that Leatherface doesn't say anything, and when he does make noises, it does not match the kind of... Because he's this big, hulking, strong guy.
And he squeals.
He squeals like a pig.
Yeah.
And it's so unnerving. It really is. Like I said, I had to really think about this because I am not a massive fan of the hillbilly horror genre, if I'm honest. Hillbillies themselves don't scare me because, like we've said, you know, we can't relate to it because we have chavs, we don't have hillbillies.
Yeah.
But the way that they make it this horrible, it's claustrophobic even though it's out in the middle of nowhere. And it's so, when you watch it and you sort of align yourself with Sally, who's like the final girl, even though she's doing all the things that are kind of like tropes, you know, jumping out of windows, running through the woods, there's something about it that just really shakes me to my absolute core. Like in the bit where she's running through the forest in the dark, and all you can hear in the background is the chainsaw, and you don't know how, and like, obviously from her perspective, she doesn't know how far away he is or not. He could be right behind her.
Yeah.
Or he could be like miles away. But all you can hear is that. And I love the way that the victims are killed. It's not the typical slasher way. It is like a slaughterhouse. And I think maybe it's the vegetarian in me, but the way that the people are killed is so unemotionless that it makes it emotional for me, because these people's lives are like, they're like cattle, and obviously that's how Leatherface and the family see them. But like the fact that they're just like whacked on a big hook, or hooks are very, very prevalent today, aren't they? You know, or they're just bashed over the head, and the way that it looks like they're killing cattle, and it's so unnerving and so different from. I mean, I haven't seen, like I said, many hillbilly horrors. Maybe it is very, very close to the rest of the genre, but I haven't watched many movies that are like this.
The film I mentioned earlier, like Wrong Turn,
Yeah,
it has so many sort of like inspirations from like
similarities.
Yeah, similarities to Texas Chainsaw. There's a part in the film when Elijah Cue's Jesse is like sort of strapped to a table with barbed wire.
Ooh.
And then like he starts going at her finger and starts taking off like flesh and starts eating it.
Oh, it's very scary to me that a person can be dehumanized in that way. Like, these people don't care that they're people with feelings and stuff. They're just attacking them like they're, well, I mean, cattle do have feelings, but you know, like they're nothing but a slaughterhouse cannon fodder. And it looks painful, and it's sometimes very slow as well. I absolutely freaking love, and this isn't a spoiler because it's so famous and it's like in the first, 20 minutes. But when Leatherface first makes an appearance, it's so without fanfare. There's no like dun dun dun.
And then when he goes
It's
away
just,
and he sort of closes that door.
he just literally comes out of the door, grabs him, and goes.
Yeah.
Like there's no, and you're just like, what the? Do you know what I mean? And it's, I just love how, for what I would call in terms of pro and con, a con for a lot of other movies that I've mentioned where I've said like, oh, it's a bit dated, which takes away from the horror. I think the datedness makes it more scary in that it works because it's meant to be like poor quality.
Like, I'm quite surprised that you've put it at number 1.
So am I.
Like, I'm not saying like that you shouldn't have, because like I do find Texas Chainsaw Massacre like scary, and I'll be real, I almost put the remake on my list, and I think I've explained this before to you. Like, so for instance, I saw the remake first before I saw the original.
Right.
I mean, I still like the original. They both unnerve me. I just prefer the remake because I think it's much more cleaner.
Yeah, see, that's the reason I don't like the
Yeah.
We're so two sides of the same coin.
But just knowing you as a person, though, I would never have picked that would be your number 1.
Well, the thing is that I didn't either, but I was just thinking about it so like long and hard, and I just thought, of all the movies I could think of, which one, when I watched it, actually affected me the most? That I really found every single scene terrifying the first time I watched it. Even just the opening shot of Texas Chainsaw, you know what I mean, where they've got it's a close up shot of a corpse's face, and then it opens up onto a big wide shot, and you see that it's a corpse it's set up like a scarecrow. In the same way, that I said that I was afraid of like stop motion animation and the awkward way they move.
Yeah.
It's set up and he's all like a scarecrow, and he's got a baby's corpse on his lap, and there's like flies.
Yeah.
And like you can feel the heat, and it's just so disgusting. And that's why it's my number 1. Hey.
Do you know what? I don't think there's anything else you can say about it without actually like revealing the kills in that. But like, yeah, you summed up really well.
The thing is that I can't find anything wrong with it.
No.
There's nothing I don't like about it, and that's rare for me. So, drum roll.
Right, my number 1 won't be much of a surprise because I said earlier that you mentioned it. So my number 1 is Scream.
Oh my god, I'm gonna die of shock.
Yeah, what I will say just quickly to like sum it up that I didn't say earlier, but like Scream wasn't the first horror film I ever saw. The first horror film I ever saw was Halloween. I watched it. My nan had it on video, and I borrowed it and I watched it.
How old were you?
I was like 10 or 11.
Oh my god.
And it scared the skit out me. Ever since then, that's why I've always found sort of like killers that sort of walk slowly very terrifying, and the fact that like no matter how fast you run, you can't get away from them, and they always seem to be able to just appear out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Now, so to say that Scream is my number 1, and the fact that like he is the total opposite to what Michael is, in that he's fast, he's clumsy, he can easily be like sort of knocked over if you just throw a chair in front of him.
Yeah.
But what I love about Scream is the fact that like it takes all the tropes that we talked about earlier and it puts it into like a well-made package, and there are parts of the film that I do find generally scary, and this shit could happen.
Yeah.
And if it was to happen, it would be more likely that the killer would be running at you with a knife than it would be slowly walking.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
But for me, like I said at the beginning of the entire podcast, I find it so much more enjoyable than I do scary, and that's probably why it's at my top, because I could watch it again and again and again, and I would know that I could put it on, watch it, and I'd be thoroughly entertained. And it's quite a short film as well, so it's brilliant.
How short is it?
I think it's like only an hour and something.
That's good. I like a short one.
Because it sort of like gets its scares out there quick, fast, and then also gets to the climactic ending. And I love the closing like scene, the closing setting, like the climax of the film is at this sort of like
oh yeah
posh house in the middle of nowhere, like farmland. But yeah, so there's not much I can say because we said it earlier on in the podcast about Scream, but there's a reason why no one's gone back to remake it yet, because it sets up a great premise that you can just follow on from. Like it's much more of a breeding ground for sequels than it is for a remake.
I really like about it is that it gives horror fans, or at least slasher fans anyway, some acknowledgement. I like that it's kind of, there are things in it that if you didn't watch certain movies, it wouldn't jar with you. You wouldn't be like, But if you do know what they're kind of homaging to, you're like, oh, I like it.
Yeah.
And I like that the main character, Sydney, she feels real to me.
Yeah.
She doesn't feel like she's, this kind of really written character. She feels organic. There's a few things about it that the reason it's not higher up on my list is because there are a few things about it that I don't buy. But that's just, all movies have plot holes. I love Matthew Lillard in it. I think he's fantastic.
Yeah.
And Skeet Ulrich.
Yes.
And David Arquette. Oh, I have such a crush on it.
The thing that I find impressive about Scream, and it all starts with the first film, is that we follow these three characters throughout the entire franchise. So for me, when someone says to you, you can't have a Scream film without those three actors, I think the reason for that is because they're never just I mean, you could say that Dewey maybe is probably the same throughout the entire franchise.
I love Dewey.
But even when you get to number 4, he generally has matured.
Yeah.
I argue he's a little bit more flat in 4 than he is the previous 3, only because he's now sheriff and he is a bit more mature and grown up. But when they have another Scream film, they can pepper in these new characters all around them and it still works because you've got such a strong foundation.
Yeah, I think if it was different characters, it really wouldn't work so well. I think I love the fact that I think Gail's probably my favorite character actually in Scream.
Yeah.
Because she has this really just amazing character arc where, I mean, I don't think she's ever really painted as like a massive baddie, like, oh, Gail, ooh. But like she's always very like out for herself in the first one.
Well, she's a woman now that, given the Me Too movement and how feminism is taken more seriously now in terms of female empowerment. The fact that she's doing that in the 90s is so revolutionary. I think it deserves much more kudos than it actually does get. I feel like Kevin Williamson and Wes Craven should be getting massive sort of accolades for the fact that they present such strong women.
Yeah, it's true. It's true, to be fair. I'm trying to think, and actually, in terms of kills, it's quite even. I'm trying to think.
But the thing is, Tatum doesn't go out on a whimper. That's my point. She goes out fighting.
Whoa. Her last move was stupid.
Oh yeah, I know.
But yes, I agree. Yes, she is fighting.
But then that's the nature of the parody, in that it's parodying extreme kills in slashers.
Yeah.
So the fact that Sydney gets that moment at the end, not in my movie, and the fact that Gail sort of survives numerous being killed attempts.
I know.
I think the fact that out of the final 4 at the end surviving, 2 of them are females. And the fact that test audiences really didn't like the fact that Dewey got killed in the original cut, and the only reason why he was brought back is because they had negative response.
Thank God for that.
Oh yeah, definitely. But then if you think about what the original cut was, then it was only meant to be Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox, and Jamie Kennedy surviving at the end, and 2 of them are females, and he gets saved by Neve Campbell.
Yeah.
I totally just spoiled it.
Yeah, you have.
But it's okay. So that is our list. We've overrun massively. I think this is probably the longest podcast we've done.
We did have a few toilet breaks.
Yeah, we did. I hope we haven't annoyed you too much with our picks.
People are probably screaming, "Where's The Exorcist? Where's Halloween? Where's Friday the 13th?"
But like we said, this is our list, not yours.
Back off, bitches. Back off, witches.
And the reason why I picked them, like I said, is because ones that entertain me and the ones that should be entered into the pantheon of the other classic horror films. So, and we did have one. Your top one was the classic horror film.
Yeah, I had to. I just had to. I don't regret it.
So before we go, we just have to announce what we're doing for our Halloween special movie review. Behind the scenes, me and Jess have been sort of coming up with what we could do. And we decided that we should go for the obvious, shouldn't we, Jess?
We love being trite.
Yes. So for our first Halloween special, we are going to do the, 1970 something?
It's bad. We should know this. Always comes up with a... Oh, 78. That's later than I thought.
Okay, so we're going to do the 1978 John Carpenter classic, Halloween.
I bet you weren't expecting that.
I mean, we could do the Rob Zombie classic.
Oh, don't. I like that one.
No, so do I. I'm a Rob Zombie defender for the Halloween. Just a brief tangent. I saw the remake in cinema and left the film hating it. And it only went since I'd gone back and watched it. I was like, no, he's got some quite original stuff.
I enjoy it. I like it for what it is.
All right, then, let's get out of here. So we'll see you at Halloween with Halloween. We're so, obvious. Jess, I've had a lot of fun, if not tiring.
I'm just scared now. I need to go curl up in a ball and
yeah.
pet a kitten and eat some chocolate.
So we hope you've had fun. We'll see you next time with our Halloween special. So bye-bye. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye.
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 Bye-bye
now. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Ooh.
We'll be right back.
Look out behind you. You've been listening to Reely Rated, a movie review podcast.
If you've enjoyed this episode, why not dive into our archives and catch up on the movie reviews you might have missed?
And have your say by sending your own thoughts and questions of the films we've discussed so far to reelyrated@gmail.com.
Make sure to hit that subscribe button and stay up to date with the latest episodes.
And spread the word that we are now available at Podbean, iTunes, Spotify and Google Play Music.
Until next time, film fans.
Keep it really rated.